Hi YouTube! So on the bench today I have my 349 Cat excavator, and I have designed a new undercarriage for this, and I decided to upgrade my personal machine. So today I'm going to take off this undercarriage and swap it out with the new one, which is in this box. So that one is just a test fitting of the parts, while the steel parts are over here. So I'm going to disassemble this entire undercarriage and put the steel parts on it and then paint it before I put it on the excavator. However, I have to disassemble this first, so I'm going to begin with that. So the undercarriage is now off the excavator, and as you can see I have these connectors here for the motors, and I'm just going to stuff this undercarriage somewhere else because I'm not going to use it anymore. So I could take the bearings and stuff from this and put it on the new one, but I've already got the bearings and stuff mounted on there, so I feel like I'll just stuff this somewhere else and maybe even sell it for cheap or something. So the new undercarriage will have bigger motors, which requires more power. So I think the wires on this slip ring is too thin, and I'll take off the slip ring and swap it out with a bigger one, just to make sure that I have enough power to the motors. So this is the new slip ring that I got from AliExpress, and this is a 10 amp slip ring, according to AliExpress anyway. So I've taken off the top cover just so that you can see the absolute mess that is inside here. No, really, I have to swap the wires on the ESCs as well, because somewhere down here, at least, there's two ESCs for the track motors, and they have the same wires like these, so I need them to be thicker. And yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm swapping the wires on the ESCs, and I'll put the cover back on so you don't have to see this anymore. Alright, so I've soldered the connections on the ESCs, and I've turned the machine on its side, and I'm now taking off this slew ring, and then after that I'll take off the slip ring. And as you can see, this one, or this excavator, has the 3D printed slew ring, and I'll keep using this actually because I've had no trouble with it. I've only replaced this middle piece with the gears on it once, and that was my mistake. I used my hands and turned it against its wheel, and that chewed up some gears while I did that, because I had a battery in and the drag brake on the ESC for the swing motor was on, so I didn't think about that when I did it. Anyway, enough about that. I'm taking this off, and let's swap out this. So here you can see the slip ring and the thin wires on it. So let's take it off. So the new slip ring is now mounted up, and it's very important that you have the rotating piece pointing downwards, and you want the one that don't rotate sitting on top here. And I'll go ahead and solder these up with the Dean's connectors now. So all the connections are now soldered on, and I'll begin installing the slew ring and assembling the slip ring onto the ESCs. And then I'll put on the top covers, and let's begin assembling the undercarriage for this. Alright, so the slew ring is now mounted up, and here we have the undercarriage parts. So I disassembled the entire undercarriage that you saw inside that box, and most of these parts I can't use because I will replace them with steel plates. So all of these will go in the bin, and also this one because I printed this in 3 pieces and now I have it in 1 piece, which is much easier to assemble. And yeah, so I'm going to throw away all of these and let's begin assembling the rest of this. Oh, and before I begin, here is all the steel plates, and these are on the running gear. Here we have the middle section and also the sprockets. So for the middle section I have 2 different steel plates here. This one is for the steel slew ring, and I won't be using this. I just ordered it because it didn't cost very much. And this is the one I'll use. So there's a big difference in diameter on the 3D printed slew ring and the steel slew ring. So that's why I have 2 of these available. So let's begin assembling this. Alright, so when mounting up the middle piece to the steel plate on the cat version of this undercarriage, you have to be aware of the steel plate is not symmetric. So this is the back side, the flat spot you can see here. It has a flat line here. That's because the motors, they come here, and this one has a curve to it, which means that this side should be facing the motors. And of course, when you have the wires for the motors coming in here, you have to mount the holes like this so that you can put the wires on the motor side through here. Alright, so the undercarriage parts have now been assembled and they are ready for paint before I continue putting on the rollers underneath here and also the tracks. As you can see, they are already painted, and these are metal tracks from AliExpress, and they are in fact pretty cheap for what you get. So these come pre-assembled, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with these. They look great too. And yeah, I forgot to show you how to assemble these. So these are printed in 2 pieces, and you have to bolt them together, and then you put this cover on to hide the screws. And this is just a M5 threaded rod going through to lock it into this tensioner, and this tensioner will go inside here. And we will also put one of these on. So it goes in like this, and then you put this inside here. So there's a slot for all the springs to go into, and this will keep tension on the tracks. So anyway, I'm going to take this outside now and begin painting it, and then I'll continue after I've painted it. Alright, so all the parts are now dried up, and we can begin assembling the rest. So the first thing I'll do is take off these motors, because I'm going to solder on the wires while they're not installed. And also, before I install motors, I will install this piece onto these. So we also have to assemble the rollers, the top rollers, and also the rollers underneath here. So we will do that now. Alright, so you've seen how I assemble these rollers, and I'm going to do the rest of them off camera on both of these so that you don't have to watch it. So I'll see you soon. So all the rollers are now in place, and I'm going to solder on the wires on the motors, and then we can put everything on and also assemble the front idle wheels. So yeah. So for those wondering, this is a M4 rod, and it is 135 millimeters long, and I'm going to zoom in on the end here. You have a lock nut, and it is about 5 millimeters in on this. So basically what you want is this nut should prevent this rod from hitting the wheel. When you insert it in here, you don't want it to hit the wheel on the inside. So that's the only reason it's there. And I'm using 5 of these springs on my build, which will give it a good tension on the tracks. So I'm missing, there it is. There we go. So 5 springs, put it on the back here, and then zoom out. I insert it inside here, like this. So there's nothing stopping this pin from popping out, but when you put the tracks on, this will disappear behind the wall here. So I'm going to assemble the other side as well now, and I'm waiting for this soldering iron to get warm so I can solder the wires on these. Alright, so I'm soldering up these wires, and the connectors I'm using, the Dean's connectors, they are pretty big, so I have to plan ahead a bit here, because these connectors, they won't fit in the holes in here, so I'm going to take off these steel plates. I have to take them off anyway, but I'll shove these this way down so that I can solder the motors on afterwards. So whatever you do, don't do it like me, because this is really not how to do it. So on this undercarriage, you can adjust the width of the excavator. It's not by much, but you can choose between 2 different settings. So one one of them is of course wider than the other. So on here you have 4 screws, and they line up with these holes, so you can adjust where you want this one in or out. So I'm going to put this on here now on the 2 inmost holes, because that will have the widest undercarriage. So here you can see what I mean. Let's zoom in. So you can line it up with these holes, put on the lights, or you can line it up with these holes. Alright, so the motors are now mounted up, the wires are ready. The only thing missing now is the sprockets and the tracks. So before I mount the tracks though, I'm going to create some grooves for these sprockets, or the set screws. So I line this up in the middle of all the rollers. As you can see here, that sprocket should line up with everything like this. I'm going to create some grooves on this motor shaft so that this screw will dig into and it will lock this in place. So the sprockets are on. Now I'm going to mount up the tracks. So I've got 45 pieces of tracks here. Alright guys, so the undercarriage is now completed, and I'm going to mount it onto the excavator. But first I'm going to take it to the weight and figure out how much or how heavy this is. And maybe I should also weight the old undercarriage so that we see the difference, because oh yeah, this is a lot heavier than the old one. So I'm going to take them over to the bathroom weight and we can figure this out, how much heavier it is. Alright, so first, before I weight them, here you can see them side by side. So let's check out the dimensions. So the old one is 25.5 centimeters wide, and the new one is 26.5 centimeters wide. So this is a centimeter wider, and the length, well, they're kind of identical, so they should be 40. Yeah, it's around 40 centimeters long. But the main difference, you can see this one is taller. It's a lot taller. So this is almost 10 centimeters, and the new one is 8 centimeters. So there's a big difference in height, but also you can see the scale looks of this. So I'm going to put this old one on the weights first, and it's actually cheating a bit because this one is full of dirt and clay, so it has a little more weight to it than it should. Oh, my floor. So 5 kilograms is the old one. So 6.9 kilograms on the new one, which is almost 2 kilograms more. Okay, so I'm going to install the undercarriage onto the excavator now. Alright, so making the wires fit inside here will be tricky, but the wires, they are way too long. So I might have to cut them down a bit, but I'll try this first and we will see if I can make it or not. Alright, so after wrestling with it for a few minutes, I got it back on and this is what it looks like. I'm very happy with the looks. I think it looks more scale now, especially with the less height on the undercarriage. So let's go ahead and see if this works. There's no way that everything is connected the correct way, because I just put the wires on randomly. So if this is working the way it should, it's a miracle. Alright, so we have, yeah, this side should be on this track, so I have to reverse the channels for that, and yeah, so this one has to be reversed as well. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going into aux channels, and here you can see that channel 5 and 6, which is the tracks. I just swapped these around to VRB and then VRA on this one. So now we have the correct side, but this one is needing to be reversed. Yeah, both will have to be reversed, so we'll go ahead and do that. Channel 5 and 6. There we go. No, sorry, I pressed it the wrong way. My mistake. There we go. So now we have a working undercarriage. Let's start the motor. Alright, so I might need more attention on the tracks, because this side, let's see. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so I might have to put more tension on it, or maybe even, yeah. I'll have to test it outside first. Alright guys, so there you have it. I think maybe I have to drop a link on each side, because this is flexing a lot inwards. Yeah, look at this. So I think maybe run 44 plates on each side. I'll try that in a bit. Anyway, this concludes this upgrade, and yeah, so far I'm really happy. The power on this undercarriage seems to be a lot more than the old one, so I can't wait to test this outside. Hopefully we have some nice weather tomorrow, and yeah, well, that's it guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.